Inspired by Love is a podcast hosted by Rachel Love, dedicated to promoting inspiration, hope, and giving a healthy dose of God's love for every aspect of life. Rachel is a seasoned inspirational enthusiast who uses witty commentary and biblical truths for real-life solutions, offers business strategies, health and wealth tips, and self-love care. Unlock the power tools to dig deeper, discover your untapped potential, and live your best extraordinary life. Here's your host, Rachel Love.
And welcome to Inspired by Love. I'm Rachel Love, and I am so delighted to have one of my good girlfriends, Dr. Mallanie Harris. Dr. Harris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, dear, I want to talk about Women's History Month. This is the last day in March. You are closing out this awesome segment, and we gave tribute to women all over the world. So I'm going to ask you, let's start and kick it off with, who is your favorite woman?
Oh, child, you done started with my favorite woman. Okay. Well, I do believe I'm every woman. Just kidding.
Listen, okay. Get your notebooks out, ladies and gentlemen, because Dr. Mallanie Harris is about to drop some tea.
Oh, my goodness. But if I had to tell you and share just some of my favorite, who I just love, admire, adore. Of course, I have to start with my mom, my first teacher, my first friend, my first caretaker, all of that. So definitely my mom. And thank you for having her on your show for the breast cancer survivors. And yeah, she really enjoyed it. So thank you. So yes, definitely an inspiration. And, you and I are part of an important group where we share a sisterhood and friendship and love. And that's the Women in Women Encouraging Women.
Ooh,
I absolutely admire and adore and love all of those women. And there's something about each one that I can just glean some information, some inspiration, some strength, some prayers, everything. We're so diverse in our gifts and skills that they are definitely some of my favorite women. And then some mentors who've brought me through my career as well. Mm-hmm. And then outside of that, I would definitely have to say Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
And Michelle Obama, for sure.
Yes. Our forever First Lady, Michelle
Forever,
Obama.
Forever,
Shout out to Lady O.
Yes. Forever,
Oprah Winfrey. Yes. So
I aspire to be like her.
Yeah. So we're talking about education today. Miss Dr. Harris has an extensive background in education, in being a teacher, an educator, a principal. So why don't you give us a little background to your journey and tell your story?
Okay. Well, her story begins just over 24 years ago. And it's so funny. I want to share with you my journal I have for this year. It's like my yearly calendar, rather.
Uh-huh.
And can you see what that says?
Yes, you're in the right place. And yes, you are.
You're in the right place. And so keeping that in mind, I just want to inspire your audience and everyone to be flexible in their journey, because wherever you are, though it may not feel like it, you are in the right place. So just about 24 years ago, I was actually working at a syndicated radio program in broadcast journalism. Right. Because my undergrad is in broadcast journalism.
Wow.
I aspired to be a newscaster. I really want to be an anchor woman and be a news broadcaster. And so that's what my background is, in broadcast journalism. And so I was an editorial assistant, and one of my really good friends from high school had just started teaching, and she had transitioned into that. And she was like, hey, we are looking for another teacher. And I told my principal that you do broadcasting. So he's like, oh, maybe she can come and do an elective class for us. Of course, I knew nothing about teaching, had no desire to teach. And at the time, I was doing that job and
Uh-huh.
plus working full time as well at another
Wow.
job. A lot of people
Wow.
didn't know that.
So
A
you
lot of
was
people did
really
not
getting
know
your
that.
hustle on.
I
Oh,
was getting my hustle on because I wasn't making that much money, but I was
yes.
excited about what I was doing. I was in a field
Yes.
that I went to school to do that I love. So I went to go talk to the principal, got some good information, learned about the campus. It was a middle school. And I said, okay, this is interesting. But by the
Mhm.
time we finished the tour, he was sending me down to HR. He was
Oh,
like, okay, so you can start in 2 weeks. I said, 2 weeks, sir? I haven't even given a 2 week
wait
notice.
a
What are
minute.
you
Did he
talking
just
about?
offer you the position like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Won't
Yes,
gotta
ma'am.
do it. Won't he do it?
He did it. And I was terrified. But I was excited because at the time I was making $20,000 at my
Right.
editorial assistant position. And then I was working another full time job right
Mm-hmm.
after that. And I was going to earn another $8,000
Yeah.
a year.
Like, come on,
And
bring
I was
it.
so excited. I
Mm.
was so excited about that $8,000. So
Ooh.
yeah, so that's how I came into teaching. Started teaching at the middle school level. I was teaching language arts, reading. I'm gonna say they baptized me into education. I'm not gonna say they
Oh,
jumped me in. My people told me to
yes.
stop saying jumped in. It wasn't
Jumped
positive,
in.
but they
Well, okay.
baptized me into it.
Baptized.
It was the hardest first year, but the best
Ooh.
first year I
Wow.
ever had. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I learned a lot about myself and that whole idea of flexibility, prayer, and just adapting to your environment.
Well,
So after that, I just stayed in education, taught, moved to a couple of districts, and then went back to school. Of course, got my
mhm,
credential, was excited about learning more about curriculum and instruction. Then I just did my admin credential just to have it, just in case
mhm,
my
mhm.
principal needed me to do something extra. Wasn't really thinking about going into administration. And then
Right.
I was appointed to my first
Appointed.
position
Ooh,
at
I
the
like
elementary
that
level.
word. Yes.
Do you know how different it is at elementary versus middle school?
I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. It's much different. When you're
Okay.
dealing with kids that's like 11 to 14ish, you're like, you
Mhm.
can talk to them a certain way, you lead them a certain way. And you go to 4.5 to 10-year-olds,
Uh-huh.
that's a culture shock.
Oh, okay. I
So,
get it. Well,
so
here's
I
the
had to
thing.
adjust. Uh-huh.
You mentioned adjustment. And so I want to
Yes,
speak to individuals that may be in the educational field.
yes,
Since
yes,
we
yes.
have just encountered a global health crisis,
Ooh,
we're right in
yes.
the smack middle of a pandemic. That's something we only
Mm-hmm.
read
Mm-hmm.
about in foreign countries,
Mm-hmm.
not here in the US.
Not not in the richest nation.
So how do you think the parents and the teachers were able to
Mm-hmm.
adjust?
Um, it has been the most challenging situation for working parents
Mm,
and for single parents
right.
and for students who usually find school as their refuge,
Mhm.
their social place, their getaway. This system that we were forced into has really breathed new life into education inequality.
Okay.
And it has really shown how students who need the most, man, they need
Yeah.
it more than ever. It has been extremely challenging because this was not set up for parents to succeed with supporting
Yes.
their kids at home
Oh, see
because
now.
they have to
Oh,
work.
I I was wondering about that with parents
Mhm.
being essential workers.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
children are on their own using technology, using the computer, using Zoom
Right.
or whatever platform that they're
Mhm.
using to
Right.
educate. And the teacher
Mhm.
can only do so much because she's not in the classroom with the students. So the
Mhm.
parent is definitely going to have to step in and ensure
Mhm.
that the student is getting the lesson, that they're retaining
Mhm.
the information, and that they can
Mhm.
regurgitate what they just learned. Now,
Right.
how are you telling me that the student is learning if they're sitting on the computer for I don't know how many hours, but it just seems like it's so unfair for them to be thrown into that.
It is, and it's totally unfortunate, but it's something. At least something is being provided. And I have to say, I have never seen my teachers work harder and stronger for their students than at this very moment over this past year. Yes. They are working longer hours. They are outside of contractual, clearly, midnight, grading, networking, so on social media, just collaborating with others, doing their lesson plans, being there for their students at 5 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night, texting, doing, it's incredible because
most
they
of those
know that
teachers have students, their own children, right?
They have, a lot of my teachers are parents themselves. So even though we're like, oh, well, the parents, they can help them at home. Okay, remember, you got parents who might be working from home. So they have to make sure they're doing their work. They have to make sure their child is in school at the same time. And what if they have multiple children?
Oh, goodness.
Right? Or what if they have multiple children, but not all of them are in school? What if they have toddlers or infants as well as school-age children? Or what if they're that parent who has to go out and work in order to maintain the roof, maintain the food, maintain the clothing, maintain the utilities? They have to maintain those things, so they have to work outside the home. Latchkey kids don't look the same as they did when we were little.
No.
And I was a latchkey for sure.
And so was I. Let me raise my hand.
I was a latchkey for sure. So in this time, in this historical moment, I look at the strength in so many women. And I know the majority of teachers are women, but we have some amazing male teachers as well. But it's just amazing what the women, just that natural motherly instinct, whether if you have a child or not, to want to protect, provide, and give people their purpose and help them to remember that it's going to be okay. It has been a journey. So there's nowhere else to go but up, for sure. But the system wasn't set up for success. You have to create it and believe it until we get out of this and get back into our old normal.
Well, I just think one of the things that I really want to applaud educators all over the world, because they definitely were thrown into this. They were thrust into the limelight and having to educate students, with special needs and different populations. And it just really became that extra burden, as you said, because they had their own household to make sure it's taken care of and running smoothly while maintaining their classroom. So I hope that the students are, this would be the year for promotion. How are you celebrating promotions this year?
Yeah, I believe we're going to do similar to what we did last year with our 8th graders. And we did a virtual celebration. So it was recorded, and there were some messages recorded from some teachers. The awards were done. The committee did an amazing job. But then we also had from our PTSA, they wanted to do what we called a photo and go, where they created this beautiful photo booth, and we invited our little scholars to come at a certain time it was over a 3-day period. And we scheduled them by last name, or by teams. I think we scheduled them by teams to come, and they would get their promotion certificate, take a picture with the administration, and then be about their way. So we had quite a few parents and students who came to do that. It was pretty amazing.
Nice way to celebrate. I mean, you just don't overlook them. They don't just, I know for, last year was the first year. So the prom, senior prom, senior ditch day.
I feel so bad.
Senior, everything.
Love the senior ditch day, of course.
Well, come on now.
Love the senior ditch day.
We got to throw in those senior activities, which, they had to come up with other ideals and be creative. And I just love it when I was seeing the different drive-bys and we're celebrating someone's graduation. And I'm like, wow, they got real creative. So I'm just hoping that they'll continue with the creative ideals and let the student feel special and, they feel accomplished. Like, I'm going to the 8th grade, and 9th grade.
Right. Because I trust and believe this year's seniors were probably last year thinking, whew, I'm so glad I'm a junior and that
Yes.
this isn't my year. Well, look, now it's their year.
Their year.
So hopefully things will open up a little bit more towards June so we can have a little bit more normalcy for these kiddos because these are the milestones that you expect. But
Yes.
I gotta tell you, it's been amazing at just how everyone at our school, in our community, and even in our district have been really working hard just to love on not only our students, but our parents because they need
Yes.
support as well. And when I say educators, everybody at my campus is called an educator. I don't care if you're a
Good.
teacher, a clerk, a custodian, a health technician, instructional assistant. They are all educating these babies. Our security staff,
Very
they
good.
are all stakeholders in the education of every child who walks on our campus. And I really hope that I help build that vision of we need to show all for all, love all for all, and do all for all. Every child matters. Every
Yes,
child
they
counts.
do. Yes, they do. So,
Mm-hmm.
Dr.
Yeah.
Harris, in your parting words, give us 3
Yeah.
takeaways that we can just be inspired by.
Ooh, okay. So definitely I would say to your amazing audience, first of all, thank you for allowing me this time to share a little bit about her story.
Yes.
Just a
Our
little bit about her story.
Hey.
But the first thing for sure is to be flexible in your journey. You just never know where it may take you. I could have easily just stayed as an editorial assistant. Who knows where I would be right now, but I absolutely have no regrets whatsoever. There's other things on the horizon for me. I'm looking to be in other businesses. So I'm excited. So just be flexible and in your journey and breathe. Just breathe and allow life to happen. Secondly, I would say to enjoy this one life that we have because we only have one and you have to live it to your fullest. Don't wait until a holiday to take out the china. Don't wait for a special occasion to put on those shoes you bought because you feel like, oh, I spent so much money. Just live life.
Yes.
Be your best you
Hey.
and enjoy it. And then lastly, I would say spread love, give love, show love because God is love. And if you know the Father, then you know love.
And you know love. Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
then be inspired by love.
Be inspired by love. Hey, that's our tagline. And so I'm praying that everyone that was listening today, that they are inspired. And a salute to all of our women out there and whatever field that you are working in. You can do it. Whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. So we're going to sign off for now. But remember these words: be inspired by love. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Inspired by Love. Join us every Wednesday for the juice to be inspired. Like, follow, and share this podcast. Be sure to leave a positive rating.